You know that feeling, right? You start a project, maybe it's a home renovation, a big assignment at work, and you've got this perfect plan, a super confident deadline. And then you just watch as it all spirals over budget and way past its due date. It happens to all of us. It almost feels like a law of the universe. Well, it turns out there's a really powerful psychological reason our best-laid plans almost always go wrong. So why are we so bad at this? Like so predictably, systematically bad? The answer, funny enough, lies in this incredible story about a whole team of experts who were absolutely sure they had it all figured out. And this story comes from the Nobel laureate psychologist Daniel Kahneman himself. Okay, so picture this. It's the 1970s, and Kahneman puts together a dream team in Israel. We're talking experienced teachers, psychology students, and a top curriculum expert named Seymour Fox. Their big mission? To write a totally new, groundbreaking high school textbook about judgment and decision-making. So after about a year of solid work, they're feeling pretty good. They've got the syllabus outlined, they've written a couple of chapters, even tested some of the material. They've made real progress. So Kahneman decides to try a little exercise. He asks everyone on the team, one by one, to write down their best guess for how much longer it would take to finish the whole textbook. And when the results came in, it was pretty clear. There was a strong consensus. Pretty much all the estimates were hovering right around 2 years. You know, some a little less, some a little more, but 2 years was the confident collective answer. It felt totally reasonable. But then, Kahneman had another idea. He turns to Seymour Fox, the expert in the room, and he asks this really simple but game-changing question. He says, Seymour, think about other teams you've known who tried to do something like this. From about the same point we're at now, how long did it take them?
And Seymour just goes quiet. When he finally speaks, he sounds almost embarrassed. The first bombshell he drops is that a huge chunk of those teams, about 40% of them, never even finished. They just failed. That was a possibility Kahneman's team hadn't even thought about.
And then came the second, even bigger shocker. Of the teams that did manage to finish, Seymour said he couldn't think of a single one that took less than 7 years. Most of them took closer to 10. Just let that sink in. Their confident, reasonable plan said 2 years. The cold, hard data from reality said 7 to 10. And the final nail in the coffin? Seymour admitted he thought their team was probably below average compared to the others. That incredible moment right there perfectly lays out two totally different ways our brains try to predict the future. Kahneman gave them names: the inside view and the outside view. The inside view is our default setting. It's what the team did when they guessed 2 years. They were looking inward, focusing on their specific plan, their progress, their unique skills. They basically built this optimistic little story based on the limited information they had right in front of them. The outside view is the exact opposite. It's what Kahneman forced Seymour to do. It says, forget your unique story for a second. Instead, it asks the statistical question, what happened when a bunch of other people tried this? It looks for a reference class, a big group of similar situations, to get an objective, data-driven baseline. So let's just break it down. The inside view is all about your personal story, and it's almost always way too optimistic. The outside view is general, it's statistical, and it's grounded in a realistic base rate. Basically, one tells you a great story, the other just gives you the odds. Now, this isn't just about one textbook project from the 70s. This habit of ours, favoring that sunny inside view, is a universal cognitive bias, and it's got a name. It's called the planning fallacy. It's our deep-seated tendency to make plans that are just unrealistically close to a best-case scenario. We completely fail to account for all the random, unknown unknowns that can, and usually do, derail us. And you can see the planning fallacy literally everywhere. Just look at the Scottish Parliament building. The initial estimate was about £40 million. By the time it was actually finished, the final cost was a staggering $431 million. That's a textbook case of best-case scenario planning. And it happens on every scale, from massive projects like railways, which on average run 45% over budget, to something as personal as redoing your kitchen. Homeowners end up paying, on average, 108% more than they first expected. This isn't just bad luck, it's a predictable bug in our thinking. So if we're all programmed to fall for this, how in the world do we fight back? Well, there is a cure. There's a method that forces us to stop telling ourselves nice stories and start looking at the actual data. It's called reference class forecasting, and it's basically the practical way to use the outside view. Step 1, find your reference class, so other kitchen renovations or similar software projects. Step 2, get the stats for that group. What was the average cost, the average time to finish? That becomes your baseline. Only then, for step 3, do you use the specific details about your project to maybe adjust that baseline up or down.
This seems so simple and logical, right? So why is it so incredibly hard to actually do? Well, the end of Kahneman's story gives us a huge clue about our own psychology. What do you think happened after Seymour told the team the grim statistical truth?
They did nothing. Absolutely nothing. They heard the facts, a 40% chance of complete failure at a 7 to 10 year timeline, and they just ignored them and kept right on going. The result? The project took 8 years. It landed squarely inside that outside view prediction. And the really tragic part? After all that work, the textbook was never even used. So why? Why would a team of rational, smart thinkers just plow ahead against such overwhelming evidence? Kahneman's insight here is just profound. The data, it didn't feel like a crisis. It was just some new facts about a bunch of strangers. It's so much easier to ignore abstract statistics than it is to give up on a plan you're already so invested in.
So, the next time you're mapping out a project, you have to ask yourself, are you totally locked into that compelling, optimistic inside view? And more importantly, what new facts, what statistical realities from the outside view are you maybe, just maybe, conveniently ignoring? Acknowledging them might just be the most rational and valuable thing you ever do.